Conchu Goes Looney Tunes.
On today's
Nerd North!
That's right, you and Papa North are talking all the crazy things that happened in Moon Knight Episode 3 and the further implications it has in the MCU.
So let's walk like an Egyptian and get this thing going.
We started off with Layla with the help of a family friend making fake passports
Sounds like ISIS to me.
so that she can go down to Egypt and track down the stolen scarab from Arthur Harrow. And later speaks of keeping some antiquities while returning others she felt were stolen from their rightful owner.
Just like Killmonger. Don't you mean Black Superman?
She also alludes to her ties with the black market and with Madripoor mentioned later in this episode could also be hinting to her ties with the power broker.
Now only if he could buy out the MCU. And I still would.
We then cut to a scene where Arthur Harrow is leading his group of followers with the scarab to Ahmed's burial ground, invoking images of Moses guiding his people to the promised land.
Let my people go.
He hands his followers shovels and, like your boss after a work accident, tells them no matter what, just keep on going.
WSIB will never find out.
And then hit up a quick scene where Layla and Mark Spector bump into each other in Egypt, where she alludes to the fact that her family name might upset some in the area.
Just like Papa North going to a social event.
She then tells Mark Spector that her father used to call her the Little Scarab, which is a little reference to the Marvel Comics lore, where her father was indeed killed by the Bushmaster.
The only Bushmaster killings in that situation was the job Gwen Stefani's lawyers were doing. Better.
We then get a great little action sequence where Mark Spector gets into it with a group of knife-wielding thugs on top of a rooftop. Just like that, he blacks out and wakes up in the cab.
That's never happened to me before.
But after the thugs catch back up with him in the market, he is hit over the head, bumps his head off the ground, and BAM! Just like that, back on the rooftop surrounded by dead guys.
Just like the time I roofied the circus midget.
And with one thug left over, Conchu tells Mark Spector to throw him over the rooftop, but Stephen Grant convinces Mark Spector to dangle him over the edge instead so they can find out the location of the scarab. But just like a good Hydra agent, he proclaims, "Hail Ahmed," before he cuts the cord and falls to his death.
Just like if Stephen Grant signs those divorce papers.
So Conchu knows the only way to stop Arthur Harrow at this point is with the other god's intervention, so he creates an eclipse over all of Egypt for everyone to see, hoping that's going to force their hand into giving him their audience.
And with the audiences at mid-level for this show, they could use all the audiences they could get.
With 7 out of 9 gods showing up, Conchu claims that although the other gods say they do not want to interfere with mankind anymore, Conchu feels that they're living in Opulus, a pocket dimension to Earth, and that their powers are weakened because people are not worshipping them anymore.
I liked that storyline the first time I saw it when it was called American Gods. McShane and Crispin Glover would have had this solved like that.
Enter Arthur Harrow. And after questioning Mark Spector's mental health and alluding to the fact that he might have something to do with Layla's father's death, Conchu's act of desperation is dismissed, and it's up to Layla and Mark Spector to solve this issue on their own.
The same way I learned about the birds and the bees. That petting zoo will never let me back in again.
We then catch up with Layla and Mark Spector at the property of aristocrat Anton Mogart, portrayed by the late Gaspard Ulile, aka Midnight Man, where they hope to find clues on an ancient artifact that he owns. The artifact happens to be an ancient star chart, but after realizing that he cannot decipher it, it was time for Mark Spector to let Stephen Grant out and help him with his homework.
It certainly didn't end like those videos I saw of teachers helping their students.
But Anton Mogart and his crew grow restless and go on the attack.
Just like medieval times without eating with your hands.
Now it's a great little fight sequence with horses and spears and kung fu, and even for a while Mr. Knight pops out without the permission of Mark Spector before quickly handing back control to the Moon Knight to get the job done.
They took a poll to see who should keep fighting.
But unfortunately, the star map gets destroyed, and Mark Spector has no choice but to let Stephen Grant back up to help figure out where this chart leads.
But now there's another problem.
The star map they're reading is over 2,000 years old and no longer matches the sky above them.
Where's Jeff Bridges? We need a starman.
But Khonshu's got one trick left up his sleeve and reverses the night sky over 2,000 years for all to see, and for that crime is punished by the other gods and is encased in stone.
Just like Jimmy Hoffa, but with a hint of falafel.
And now that he can't meddle with Earth's problems anymore, here comes Arthur Harrow to have a brief conversation with the god who once possessed him.
Wrong possessor, but she's still looking good.
He then thanks Khonshu for showing him the violence it takes to have his movement happen, and further thanks him for setting him on the path that he is on. Now this episode left us with all sorts of questions, including who are the two missing gods from the ensemble? I'll give you a clue.
One of them is Bast. No, not Based, Bast! You know, the god from Black Panther!
With Stephen Grant and Mark Spector both claiming not to have killed the thugs, does this confirm our third personality?
Mephisto confirmed!
And with Mr. Knight showing up without Mark Spector's permission, does this mirror him trying to break out of somewhere like the rumored plot points for episode 4 of Stephen Grant breaking out of an insane asylum?
You try sharing a room with Jussie Smollett!
And with Khonshu turning back the cosmos over 2,000 years, does that mean he's erased the lore of anything that's happened for 2,000 years in the MCU?
The Snap. Destruction of Asgard, and with Nova now in production, maybe even the destruction of his home planet Xandar. That's Zartan, but it would still be a better solo movie.
How does Thor Love and Thunder fit into this? How does God the Gore Butcher fit into this? And maybe, just maybe, are all the gods in the MCU just an avatar for somebody else? But that's a theory for a video coming very soon. But as always, tell Papa North what you think. Do you think this show is still absolute fire, or is this a train wreck you can't help but watch? If you're loving this content, leave me a like and a comment, and don't forget, the more likes and comments you leave gives me more of a chance to make great nerdy content for subscribers like you. Follow me at Nerd North Drew.
And don't forget to leave a subscribe. We're well on our way to 50, which means we're on our way to live streams and giveaways.
And until next time, Nerd North!